Welcome back, everybody, to The Angry Chicken. This is episode 283. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, and I'm joined, as always, by Willie Dills Gregory and Jocelyn Moffat. It's a brave new Hearthstone day, everyone. We got a patch.
It is. There's actual news. Apparently, wasn't in the notes until 5 minutes ago because it did get announced exactly today. We got Team 5'd again.
It's better than immediately after recording. I'm totally
Sure.
I'm fine with that. But I will say, I guess it dropped while I was on lunch, and then I got back from lunch and I started playing some games, and at no point was it brought to my attention that these changes were made.
Yeah. I had a pretty good season last season. I didn't play as much as I would have liked, but I reached decently high ranks in standard and wild, which was kind of the plan for a while was to get close enough that I could then reach legend in both each season.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just really hard to get done, harder than I thought anyway. But I was ranked 2 or 1 in standard at the end and ranked 4 in wild. So I'm actually now I'm right there, right? Like already at the rank floor in standard and at rank 7 or something, 7 or 8 in wilds. It's like this season I'm very excited for. I'm hopeful that I could actually accomplish this feat, which has been kind of on my radar now for a while since they made the changes to the ladder system.
Yeah, I'm stoked to hear that, dude, because not gonna lie, you're like the only person I know that seems stoked on this game right now.
The only person you know?
Yeah. A lot of my Hearthstone buddies just aren't playing anymore. Everybody's playing Magic. Feels like most streamers are playing Magic, whether they're paid or not.
Arena did just launch its open beta, so tons of people are messing with that.
But when Hearthstone is broached, it's not. Oh yeah, I'm just taking a break because Magic's out. It's a lot of people right now are like, yeah, I'm taking a break because they don't seem interested in adding things to the game for me.
That is a super valid argument that I have no rebuttal to when people say it to me. They're like, yeah, I just don't like the direction the game is going. I'm like, that is totally fair. See you later. If that's if you can't even play the game anymore because tournament mode has been put on indefinite hold, then that's like you're a one issue voter and you voted no. You know what I mean? And it's like that's totally fine. Like I'm with you guys on the disappointment about the whole thing, but I'm just like, yeah, when I log in and play Hearthstone, I'm still having a blast. I can't deny that portion of it. And I do see the burnout that people are describing when you kind of put yourself into a box of Hearthstone, right? When you're like, I do this thing, this is the thing I do in Hearthstone. I play standard and I play top tier decks. I'm like, those are the people who seem to be getting burnt out a lot right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the variety of Hearthstone camp, and I'm not feeling it. And also arena streamers are not feeling it right now either. There are some guys like Shady Bunny has switched because he was sick of mind control tech. But I talked to a lot of other arena people and they're super excited right now. We had the news last week of Educated Collins getting 12 wins in a row. A lot of arena people feel like this is the best meta. Crip even said this too. This is the best arena meta that there has ever been. So it's I feel like where this is all happening is people who are playing standard competitive decks who are now feeling like the competitive thing that they want to do is not going to get any better, right? So that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think that's all fair, and I've been dabbling in arena the most that I have in probably years. So I'm enjoying it as well, even though I'm still terrible at arena. But
dual class arena is coming, and that should be super fun.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that last year. So yeah, I completely understand that as well. Yeah, you're right. I guess most folks that I talk to is one big thing for the most part. That's kind of ticking. Everyone's kind of got one thing that's yep, this one thing's too far. Whether it's mind control tech, lack of tournament mode. But honestly, the one I hear more and more is that they're just not digging this meta as far as the ladder is concerned. Which that's kind of where I fall. I'm in a 2 camp right now in kind of my exhaustion, which is I don't love this meta, and also darn, that thing I was really hoping for just got canned.
Yeah, I actually really do like this meta. I feel like there's been metas in the past where I felt like I just didn't get to play the game, right? Where I was like, well, this matchup is impossible, or this guy just like drew this card and now I can't win. But I do really feel like this is a beatable meta where you can make strong decisions, play properly, and beat it, right? So that's like, the deck we're going to talk about later, the Control Zoo, which some people were saying in my chat I should call it mid-range Zoo. I agree, but I don't think mid-range decks oftentimes want to hellfire their own boards, right?
Yeah,
I would call it more of a Control Zoo.
Yeah, I think it's a really good example of what you're getting at, which I agree with to a certain point. But I stand by my comments from previous weeks that like it feels like no matter what I pick, there's one or two matchups that almost feel unwinnable.
Yeah, like completely rock paper scissors. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But the data from Ixar would suggest that that's not the case. So which is why, like, to me, it's very interesting because I hear this argument from players. Like, I hear you saying it. I've heard other people say it, and I do agree that there are a couple, like Quest Rogue versus super slow control.
Yeah, and right? I mean, Ixar even brought those up. I believe Odd Warrior also gets brought up a lot whenever Ixar gets in front of front of an interview.
But I guess my counter argument to that is, if there's a couple of those cases, that's a card game. If there's a ton of those, if like every single matchup is polarized in one way or the other, then that's like a super problematic meta. But like, in Magic the Gathering, which is the game everyone's playing right now, you try to beat a Teferi deck with, there's like 5 or 6 decks that just don't win, right? Like you cannot beat it. They will just counter all your stuff, then they will play Teferi, then they will start drawing cards, and they will kill all your crap. And it's just going to happen at a certain point, right? And so it's like, to me, I'm like a little bit less like, okay, that makes me not like this game. That just makes me go like, okay, it's a card game. And that's why I get excited about finding a deck like the one we're going to talk about, where I'm like able to bridge the gap there a little bit. So with the Control Zoo deck, I actually have a really good win rate against Odd Warrior. Whereas if I'm playing pure Zoo, yeah, you can't beat it, right? Because it's literally designed to like wipe your board, and then you run out of stuff, and then you can't do anything. So this one, like, oh, well, what if I could Gul'dan at some point? Like, there you go. You kind of fixed the problem a little bit, right? So that's, to me, like, that's like where it's like becomes a challenge, because there's a couple of issues, not every single matchup. So that's why like Ixar's comments kind of resonated with me in that, yeah, it's not polarized in the way it once was, where this just beats this just beats this and there's no middle ground anywhere, right? Like, you can tech your deck properly, play archetypes that will then counteract that entire rock paper scissors thing. And that's what I'm looking for in a card game. It's the ability to counter the meta, right?
Yeah, and I think I think that's a strong point to bring up with decks like what you're talking about, what we're going to talk about later, which is what are the positives, what type of outside of the game, deck building game does this allow you to play with the ladder that we have?
Yeah.
I guess what I would like to see is I kind of want to hear from someone who's not Ixar. Like,
well, we did, right? We'll have it in the notes later. But
well,
also, I do want to bring this up. The biggest problem to me that is immediately apparent when I play MTG Arena is just that Hearthstone lacks formats.
That's what I'm getting at. It's like Ixar, I think he's doing a great job. I think he's on point. All of his defenses, and it's not all defense. He concedes points. He has brought up multiple times now. Quest Road, Aggro, probably a problem. Although I swear to God, if I get one more middle of the road comment from him on Giggling Inventor, I'm going to stab somebody. But, but other than that, like, dude's on point. But it's I don't think I'm pretty sure it's not Ixar's job to talk about other formats. Like, that's not his call to make. So it's kind of irrelevant to have that conversation within the confines of any defenses or statistics or larger concepts about the game that Ixar brings up. Because it's like, well, yeah, but what I think, what I am saying, and at least what I think some folks on public forums are saying is like, yeah, but it's not great. And wouldn't it be cool if there was somewhere else for me to go play the same card game, but in a different way, when I'm sitting here going, yeah, I'm kind of done with this meta. And at the moment, it's pretty much Arena or bust.
The funny thing too is that they have all these other formats, but they just give them to you once a week for 4 days, and it's sometimes super silly and stupid, and sometimes super awesome and fun. but it's then this tavern brawl thing, and you win one card pack and then you leave. It's like you can make more formats, guys. Like you're doing it on a weekly basis. So
if dual class arena was a thing that was just available all the time, that's the arena that I would play, because I can't get that experience anywhere else in Hearthstone. So I would actually play that a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like it's easy to go, yeah, but eventually you burn out of that and you wouldn't play it as much. Yeah, but I probably would play it more than just the couple of weeks it's available right now.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but you can also dip in there and dip out, right? Like you can be like, I'm playing, like I'm getting sick of standard format.
Yeah.
Where do I go? For a while and then come back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. And it's just, it starts to make me think of like, well, who starts having this conversation? And we'll get to that in a little bit. But there's some actual in-game news to discuss because a patch dropped just a couple hours ago. So let's get into it.
Good news, everyone.
So as we pretty much already alluded to, Hallow's End is coming back. It's going to kick off October 17th and will run through Halloween. It will run through October 31st. And there's some new stuff to talk about, which is we're getting a free Golden Witch's Cauldron just for logging in, which I'm happy about this because Witch's Cauldron is playable. And I love golden playable cards.
You could throw it in your odd paladin and have a blasty blast.
Yeah.
Making
random gold shaman spells.
Gold shaman spells, yeah. And look, to be fair, random shaman spells can be real good in paladin and odd paladin. Bloodlust, that's pretty good in odd paladin.
Really? I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dual class arena is coming back. That's a thing I'm really freaking excited about. But getting past Hallow's End, the other stuff that came in with patch 12.2, new player ranks are here. So if somehow you're listening to this and you just started playing Hearthstone, congratulations, welcome. I'm glad you found the show. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy the game. And also hope you enjoy 25 new ranks. 50 through 26 have been added to the game, and you're now going to earn free classic packs. You're going to earn 3 free classic card packs when you reach certain milestones, and it's basically every 5 ranks. So 45, 40, 35, and 30. And then when you hit rank 25, you earn 2 more classic card packs. And that's...
And 2 packs from the most recent 4 Hearthstone expansions. So that's like when you get to 25, boom, 10 packs.
Yeah, that's
rad. A lot of packs, man.
There's a lot of packs.
I mean, this is good though, because if you're a new player, this is, okay. So there's a little bit of a trickiness to this too. Let's say let's say you've been playing for a month. Do you want to you want to start a brand new account right now? It's kind of awkward, right?
Yeah,
I guess
it's definitely a decision to be made because, I mean, whatever you've earned possibly from your monthly rewards, if you've bought the welcome bundle or something.
Is that going to be worth more than 22 free packs? Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there's no other way to do this, really, right? Other than, I guess, well...
Eventually, you got to put it out or not.
There's an argument for just grandfathering this in and giving these rewards to everybody, which I would be fine with.
I mean, sure, I could see that too. But whatever, I don't know. It's not... we're picking nits if we go that way. It's a good thing overall. And players who are going to play from here on out, they'll actually feel like maybe they understand the game by the time they get to the point where they're playing against net decks. And maybe they'll have enough cards to make something competable. So, yeah,
this is what I wanted to see from a new player experience standpoint of... Because otherwise, I don't know. I feel like if you're at rank 25, if you're competing with folks that could have any size collection, when you're getting... three free packs here and there, it's not even close to enough cards to compete on a constructed level.
No, but it will by the time you get to 25. That's a bunch of cards, and you've earned some gold along the way, and maybe you bought some packs yourself, and so
that's enough to piece together. And stuff. That's enough to piece together like a zoo deck, or like an even shaman.
Which is, by the way, if you've played at any time recently, you guys don't have extra accounts, right? But I was playing on I think it was my Asia account, and it's basically all Zoo and Odd Rogue because those are cheap decks that compete, right?
Yeah, which is fine. That's been the case. It's kind of been the history of the game. There's always been at least one affordable deck from a dust standpoint that could compete, in a close to tier 1, if not tier 1 environment.
Yep.
So
usually it was some sort of aggro-y type deck, so makes
I was
sense.
gonna say, yeah, Face Hunter.
Yeah, Face Hunter, that was the jam.
more or less, yeah.
That was easy for people to understand too when they
Yeah.
first in the game. They're like, yeah, so I press this button and I just do 2 damage, huh? Sweet, I got that.
I play the green card and push the button and go.
Yeah. But to players who like just started last week or are trying to make that decision, I guess the question is, how much money have you already spent?
True that.
That would be it. That would be it. And even if it's like you spent like $20, maybe start a new one anyway and see if you get luckier with the cards that you crack. It's like, oh well, damn, I got a bunch of legendaries because I'm rocking this account now.
That would be an interesting scenario to tackle if you are Blizzard. Is what do you do? Like, let's say a guy opens a ticket and goes, "Wait, you just added these things. I started my account a month ago and I bought, the welcome bundle and this and that and the other thing. Like, can you reset all this and put me to 50?" Like, I would like to think that they would let people do that, depending on if their account was super new or not.
Yeah, but then it shows up on Reddit, and then everybody wants it, and then poor customer service is just inundated with requests.
You say like only within the last 2 months or 1 month or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Like at the end of the day, this is just a Band-Aid that needed to be ripped off.
Yep.
So I'm glad it's here, even though it doesn't really affect me at all, unless I go and start other accounts. But I have Magic to play, so.
I am going to try this. I'm going to play a new account at some point and just kind of see how hard it is to rank up from 50 to 25, like just as kind of a little project,
Are
Like,
there
no
5 stars
purchasing
at each
cards.
new rank?
I believe so, yeah. But you don't lose stars.
You don't lose any, yeah. So you basically just have to
constantly
win.
moving forward. You're just, this just might be a slow process.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards that being a good thing because I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want people to get out of there too fast, right? Like you want them to learn. So
I'm assuming there's win streaks. So if you are like a decent player and you start to get the game pretty quickly, let's say you
can
take
get out of there. Yeah.
you'll probably get out of there fast enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious to hear from newer players like how this goes, because in my mind I'm almost like I almost wish they could combine this with a little bit of skill-based matchmaking as well to see if it's really time to boot you out.
It's gonna be hard for us to find. Like people who are listening to a Hearthstone podcast, probably not brand new players, but maybe if you were listening to this show and you just came along to the game and you just searched Hearthstone podcast because you're getting so excited about Hearthstone, please send us an email.
Yeah, no, Josh, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we hear stories about people's friends all the time that may not necessarily be listening, or the kids, nephews, who knows, nieces and nephews. So
there's new players out there. There's got to be.
Yeah, tagpodcast@gmail.com. Send us. Yeah, if you're a new player and you're discovering your way through this new thing, I would definitely like to hear your experience for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really hard. Even if you go and do a totally new account, you going in and starting at rank 50 is not going to be the same as a brand new player.
No, it's not. I'm going to understand
a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, because I'm going to do free to play, so I'll be like, okay, this card sucks, I'll dust it. This card is good, I'll keep it. Yeah, exactly. Like,
but a new player wouldn't necessarily know that. So
yeah, I'll start trying to build one specific deck that is viable, and I'll see what's up. But yeah. I'm just curious to see what the decks that people are going to be playing in there are going to look like. What kind of mistakes am I going to see all the time?
Yeah, it's interesting. We also got a new keyword, which was not part of the kind of preview we got a couple weeks ago. Casts when drawn is a new keyword. It's been added to the following cards. It's been added to Nerubian Ambush, Burrowing Mine, Bomb, Ancient Curse, Spider Ambush, Scroll of Wonder, and Darkness Candle.
Yep. So basically it just means when this is drawn, cast it, draw another card.
Yeah. So for example,
just write out in long form, right? So
yeah. So Scroll of Wonders used to read, cast a random spell, draw a card, cast this when drawn. Now it reads cast when drawn, cast a random spell.
Yep.
And it's actually keyworded, meaning it's like in bold black font, and when you mouse over it, it's going to explain in greater depth what that actually means.
Yes. So this is, this makes sense. It's a lot of card text on some of these cards. This also makes me wonder, are we going to see more cards like this? And they're trying to clear some space so that they can put some more complex stuff behind this keyword. We'll see. Maybe the next expansion has a whole bunch of cast when drawn stuff.
That would be super cool.
It is a cool mechanic, yeah.
Yep.
Certainly makes me think like that might be the case.
Yeah. I mean, Spooter deck is really the only deck that really uses this a lot, right?
Yeah.
But
and people who glyph into Scroll of Wonder and want to have actual fun.
Sure. And Scroll of Wonders is like it's not Yogg levels, right? But when you play it and crazy things happen, it is very entertaining for sure. I always pick it personally.
Always, Dills. Always.
And generally it's actually decent, the outcome for you. And most of the time the spell does something good for you. Higher than 50% of the time, anyway.
Well, would you say then that spells are fun? Is that a declaration you might make?
Sure.
So fun.
Well, good, because there's new quests, and one of them is called Spells Are Fun. If you cast 40 spells, you get 60 gold.
Nice.
And 4 more quests were added as well. There's one called Draw, where if you draw 20 cards, you get 50 gold. There's one called Full Northshire, which is to draw 30 cards, which rewards 60 gold. Then there's Are We There Yeti, which is to just take 20 turns. You get 50 gold from that. And then the final one that has been added with this patch, Time Warp Again, which is the 10 more of Are We There Yeti to take 30 turns and get yourself 60 gold.
So there's no spells are kind of fun. Cast 30 spells.
Spells are okay, I guess.
Spells are okay, yeah.
Spells right.
Apparently
look,
not.
This is good. More quests that don't involve trying to win with a certain class, I think, are good for everybody because, that's really frustrating. I go to my free-to-play accounts and I get like win with priest, and I'm like, oh god, priest. Like I don't have a priest deck.
That's never gonna happen. What are you doing to me, game?
Yeah. So and then you can only mulligan it once a day. So just this is good. More quests that don't require you to win a game. Just play the game. Good.
So for Draw and Full Northshire, does that include your
natural
turns,
draw?
Your natural draw? Okay, so you don't have to like actually play Northshire or Acolyte.
No, you could do it really quick if you just built a deck of all cycle cards. But you just get it by just playing the game.
Just play Warlock, you'll be fine.
Or play Warlock and just tap a bunch. Yeah, play Warlock and put Novice Engineers in it. Right, just do like all the stuff. Just go into casual and just do nothing but draw and burn your own deck.
I really need to make a bumper, but let's call this Giggling Watch because Giggling Inventor has been brought up again. This time in an interview by Newsweek, which I didn't even know they did Hearthstone interviews, with Mike today. And he has some rather concrete opinions on Giggling Inventor, saying, quote, I don't think we expected Giggling Inventor to be quite this good. I don't think we would have shipped it if we knew it would be quite this good.
But no nerfs incoming.
Heyo.
Yeah.
Hey, but look, this is Donais though saying this. Like, Donais he's the big boy right now. You know what I mean? So this is good. This is good. I like hearing this.
Boy, the tune changed real fast in a week.
It did really. Like one show ago or something or whatever. 2 shows ago, we're talking about how they're not going to make any changes.
Well, it felt like we had 2 weeks in a row of XR going like, yeah, it's fine.
Well, now there's nothing here about we're going to make changes to it, but him saying we wouldn't have shipped it. You know what I mean? To me, it feels like there's a couple of cards that fall into this category. Like I think Spreading Plague could probably get nerfed again to 7 or something like that and be fine. I think this card could cost 6 and be fine.
I think Spreading Plague could be removed from the game entirely and
that's
be
true.
fine.
You can do that. I will say this though: I think Spreading Plague in any class besides Druid would be totally fine, right? Because the problem is that what Druid can do with Spreading Plague is just buy all this time to then murder you with giant combos. But also
I would push back on that a little bit. Like pump your brakes on the Warrior. Maybe don't give Spreading Plague to Warrior.
Sure. Well, but imagine how cool Warrior would be with Quest Warrior with Spreading Plague. That'd be kind of fun.
It'd be cool for the Warrior.
Well, yeah, but what Druid does is then they turn around and kill you, right? Like Warrior, it slows things down, but then they don't turn around and then murder you from like 30. You know what I mean? So that's I think the issue is. Also in Wild, it's ridiculous how much time it buys you. So
yeah, it's a little silly. On the subject of Druid, I also pulled this quote out of here because Donais said on the subject of Druid that Druid should be weak at single target removal of creatures, AoE removal of creatures, and right now it really isn't. They still have some good cards that we need to iron out. which I would say that's putting it mildly, in my opinion. But yeah,
Sure.
so
I mean, this is the problem, right? Is that they got rid of slowly over time. They got rid of all of their weaknesses, all the things that they're supposed to be bad at. They're like, here's a card that makes them good at it now. And,
yeah, because now they're good at making lots of things. They're good at buffing lots of things. They're good at card draw.
Drawing
They're good
lots
at
of
armor
cards.
gain. They're good at
ramping,
ramping. Yeah.
killing, just straight up killing, burst damage. They're good at that too.
yeah, murder by death. They're very good at
Yeah,
that.
they're very good at just straight up killing you. Like, what is the thing that they're not good at? Is there a thing that they're not good at?
Sometimes not having their
They
ramp
even
on the
have
top of their
ping.
deck.
They even have a ping.
I mean,
Like I would say their weakest thing is probably AoE removal because they've got swipe and that's not the most powerful thing. It's not flame strike, but
Yeah, but
it's still decent.
they don't well, but they do have Starfall if they really want to get in there. Like they have options basically everywhere, and swipe with a little spell power is super good. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's crazy. And then obviously like spreading plague just softens the board up so that
so you can swipe. Yeah.
The whole thing is just kind of it's like they didn't plan out what was going to happen 5 years down the road as they started adding cards in each expansion.
Yeah, I don't know. This for me. I think this week we've hit it. We've hit the point where I'm like, things have stayed the same for too long.
Yeah, I would like to see some changes just to bring some classes back in line. Be nice before the next expansion, which will be December?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not like super far away from it, but the funny thing for me though is like I hear all this talk about Druid. I hear all this talk about these classes that are oppressive, and then I look at my stats and I'm like, man, I crush Druids. What is going on here? And it's like it does feel to me like there are ways to deal with it, but I think that for the general population of Hearthstone, it just feels like a hopeless situation. And they just go, this card makes it so I can't win. And it's like, instead of looking at the problem as, how do I beat this card? Right? What do I do to beat this card?
Well, I think for some players, and I've at times fallen into this line of thinking, it's that the only way to beat it is by playing a deck I don't want to play.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but the thing is, it's not. Yeah, but I think that's also not true, though, is you don't have to play a deck you don't want to play. You just have to make the deck that you do want to play have a chance against this deck, right? And there's tools in the game for it. I would like them to obviously look at cards that are problematic and be willing to change them. But I also do understand their argument that like the player base also has a chance to deal with these cards, right? Like if you save Mossy Horror for the spreading plagues, you just crush them. Right? But
then they have the dude that gives all your taunt minions +2/+2, and you just cry because then Mossy Horror doesn't do anything.
That's a 10 mana combo, though. I mean, a 10 mana combo is supposed to be good, right?
Yeah, it's just that the Druids are consistently getting there because of armor gain.
Sure.
And
well,
the first spreading
ramp.
plague.
I don't know. Like I'm like wondering why it is that people are saying like they just can't beat Druid, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm fine against them. I'm like wondering what deck it is that you want to play that you can't beat them, right?
I don't even think it's necessarily that you can't beat them. It's that it's not a fun game when you do beat them.
Interesting. So I don't know. I guess I disagree. I have fun figuring it out, solving the puzzle, right? Like thinking, okay, this is their spreading plague turn, so let's play around the spreading plague a little bit. Okay, now we've gotten past that. Can we make a read that he doesn't have spreading plague? Like, there's just a lot of things to talk about and think about, and to me, that makes a fun Hearthstone game. It makes a fun Magic game, right? Like, I mean, I could say that I don't find Price of Fame very fun to play against when I'm playing against somebody in Magic, and they kill my guy and surveil, and they did it all for 2 mana. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's a card game, right? Like, play around things. It's kind of what you gotta do.
But I guess like my question is it a good card game if one class is the class making the puzzle? Like, shouldn't all classes have puzzles for people to solve, and shouldn't all classes have like good, strong things that they can do on the same level.
Well, yeah, I think they all do. I do think that Druid should have more weaknesses, though. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying I don't think that the situation's as dire as people make it out to be. I do think, though, that if Druid was changed, I wouldn't be mad about that at all. Like, you know, I could definitely see Druid being changed. I could also see Druid not being changed and not think that like that makes the game suck. But I do think that Druid should have weaknesses, and that they have made poor design choices, removing weaknesses from a class while not doing that to other classes, right?
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming at. From.
Coming at from.
You know what I mean.
Sure. Well, but you know, like classes have all kind of evolved over time. I guess the problem is that they've evolved in ways where some of them have lost strengths while replacing them with other ones, right? And Druid didn't lose the prior strengths while they replaced them with new strengths, right? That's definitely true. But if you like, you know, statistics wise, Druid isn't the most oppressive class by a long shot. Like it's important to differentiate between like how something feels and its reality, but not to diminish the thing that feel matters, right? Feel does matter to people. So yeah, it feels bad when you flood the board and then they spreading plague. In reality, like, is now the game like bad for you? Like, are you definitely going to lose the game now? It's just like one of those things where you're like, damn it. And then it feels bad. So like they've changed cards because of feeling bad in the past. And I think this is one of the situations like where, yeah, we could change this because of its feel, not its statistical power. You know what I mean? I think that's okay.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at.
But I also think if we're going to understand that we could do it for that, like I think the players who are complaining in a way where like I'm right, you're wrong, I'm always right, you're always wrong, Druid is too powerful. Like I think those players need to soften it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if Blizzard's going to soften, we need to all kind of be a little bit soft. Like these rigid, like, you know, definite statements are, man, they're toxic. You know, like I hear so many people talk about it in this way where it's like, there's no room for, there's no room for like any other opinion right now. Like that's crazy to me. That's nuts.
I think that comes from a certain lack of communication from their end. I mean, they've been communicating, but we've been hearing the same thing over and over again, right? Like from Gamescom to the preview post for this patch, it was pretty much exactly the same, except to tell us that tournament mode was coming and then new player stuff was coming as well. As when it comes to the balance of the game, we haven't heard anything new except for Mike Donais, who said, "Yeah, Giggling Inventor is it's not the way we want it to be," but then doesn't tell us anything is going to be done about that.
Sure.
So I think that leads to the hyperbole that we're seeing in places like the subreddit.
I mean, I'm just saying the hyperbole has been there forever. You know?
Well, yes, that is true, but I think it's at a higher volume now, because of the state that we're in. I mean, there's so many factors. You know, what the post a few weeks ago that didn't go over well.
Many things Blizzard isn't doing right, and I think right now though people are so focused on like this one thing, they can't see the forest through the trees right now. You know what I mean? It's like I really enjoyed Kibler's video. If you watch Kibler's video about the release that we talked about, you know, the what's happening now type of thing, he talked about that in a video, and he brought up some really interesting points, which were like, this type of communication is fantastic, and this is what we need more of. And we've said that too every single time they've put something out, right? Like every time they've communicated with us, we're like, yes, please. Like, can we get this every week, right? Can we get this constant like communication
insights?
Yeah, just constantly get at us with this stuff. But then, you know, he also said like that the criticism was they asked for feedback and then didn't give us like link. Like, here's a link to give us the feedback, right? Like there was a lot of weird things in there, and it's almost like people glossed over stuff like that because all they heard was tournament mode's not coming and no patch or no balance changes are happening, right?
Well, that's because the people that are making that comments are currently playing the game, and the new player stuff does not affect them and is never going to affect them. So I think it's and when part of that announcement is, hey, a certain feature some of you may have been looking forward to is gone, I can see how the next step is, well, there's nothing left to comment on but the game I'm left with, and the game I'm left with, I'm personally have issues with whether it's right or wrong.
Sure,
I just see the
hard line statements that people were making after that was like just kind of that bothered me.
Yeah, I get that, man. I'm just saying I can understand how they arrive at those at that point. Because I guess what I'm saying is we've lived a long enough Hearthstone life of making few changes not very often. Why don't we try the opposite for a change? Why don't we just try making more frequent changes and just see how it goes? If nothing else, it'll shut us up. Like if it doesn't work, we're like, oh shit, Team 5, you're totally right. You're nail on the head on that one. Frequent changes are bad.
I'm with you. I'm with you that like they need to try some stuff. You know what I mean? But I'm also not with the people who are calling for the end of the world and yelling "dead game" in every single chat. You know what I mean?
I mean that's just insane. We've been through this with World of Warcraft how many times? I mean, I like Magic. I like Magic, and I'm excited for Artifact. But I can tell you right now, like if nothing else, like without even getting nitty gritty, Hearthstone's still the most affordable of those two games, like by a landslide victory. So, and
you know, I've also, by the way, read the comments that like we're not going to quit Hearthstone because this is our job or whatever. I'm like, I quit the instance. Don't tell me that I won't quit a game. If I'm happy.
I quit Overwatchers. I ended StarCast.
If a game is literally to me not going to be like not going in the direction that I want, and you know, and like I do agree, Hearthstone needs to do some stuff because the rope is burning. The rope is burning, but like that. The time that I will stop playing a game is when I truly just don't want to play the game anymore. And to me right now, I still totally want to play Hearthstone. And like, that's just very true at the moment. So that's, you know, like I look at people and I'm like, I see people complaining and then logging in. And I'm like, come on, man. Be realistic here.
Fair.
And you just said that you had a great time playing the deck that we were going to talk
I did.
about
No,
today.
dude, I'm not all doom.
Like,
I'm not all doom and gloom. I just like someone's got to stand up for Reddit. I can't believe it's me doing it. Like,
yeah, crazy.
Someone's got to do it, man. And you know that like right now I'm kind of like, man, Hearthstone, the tail in your game is looking a little worse for wear right now. Like that's kind of where I'm at. I'm looking at BlizzCon to impress me, and I'm also kind of sitting here worried. I'm like, pretty sure it's just going to be a third expansion and nothing else.
Oh yeah, it's just going to be an expansion announcement, dude. I don't know what you're smoking over there if you think it's anything else.
What are you talking about? We're going to get like a new hero and stuff.
Oh yeah, joy.
Okay, now you're just trolling me, man.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like, man, BlizzCon's just going to be a third expansion, ain't it?
Yep.
Buh. That's just my kind of my thought. But if there's this little thing in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh my god, what if they come out and they're like, yeah, tournament mode's canceled, but look at this mode, look at this craziness. Extra button shows up, fireworks shoot out. Ben Brode rides out on a pony. He's like, I'm back, bitches.
If only.
Doubtful. You know what though? If they did big sweeping other changes, I would be very happy to table my tournament mode hopes and dreams for a while. You know what I mean? Like if they were to come out and say Wild Growth is going to the Hall of Fame and Malago's going to the Hall of Fame, we're putting in a brand new version of Wild and Arena. Now there's a new limited format. I'd be like, okay, tournament mode, we can still do that. We can handle that as a community for a while. Like, but that's the thing. It's like, yeah, we do need to know that we're not just going to be in 5 years playing standard with 30 cards and 30 life and you know just whatever expansions have recently come out. Like please God.
Yeah, and to their credit, they have surprised me in the past. Like the direction they've taken the game has almost never been in line with what I've wanted, and on more than one occasion has surprised me. I'm not talking about Tavern Brawl, but so I am more than open. I'm not sitting here saying that if it's not what I want, then it's bad. Like surprise me, but a third expansion isn't surprising me. A third expansion is what this game needs to just chug along. It's a card game that's required.
Yeah, they really do suffer from the fact that because I'm actually I wasn't around for the beginning of Magic, right? Maybe somebody in the chat or somebody can send us an email and hit me to all this. But with the evolutionary process of other formats in Magic, to me, it seemed like was so much more organic because the power was in the player's hands, right? Like you print the cards, you give them to the players just do whatever they want with them. You tell them how this is how we designed the
official system is, yeah.
Yeah, and then they sit down at a kitchen table and they go, you know what? Let's play with 10 cards. You know what? Let's when I mulligan, I'm gonna do a free mulligan, or I'm gonna mulligan just certain cards. Or like they can sit down with the cards. They can just do what they want, and the formats just happen, right? And we just don't have that luxury in Hearthstone, so it's up to them, right, to provide us with that experience, with that differing experience, with that exciting new thing to do. And yeah, man, Discover was exciting. And then each expansion, it's like, here's more Discover, and you're like, cool. Like, Magnetic wasn't going to be enough, right? To just like make the game completely new and fun and different. So they need to like maybe put the power in our hands, or decide to be a little bit, throw caution to the wind, try some stuff.
Yeah, which is what kind of made Hearthstone famous in the first place. They came out and it was just like, look at this insanity. You think card games?
Brand new way to do things. Yeah.
You think card games? Here you go. Mm-hmm. And then like a couple years later, they're like, you still think card games? Yogg Saron.
Yeah, there's so many things they can do, right? And they're not doing them. There's also some weird, interesting stuff that no one's really talking about. Like, what if we opened up board space? What if we were allowed to have like 12 minions on the board? Stuff like that. Like
crazy.
There's all sorts of things that we could be doing. I know. Nope. 7 minions, that's it.
That would be
That's how big the art is designed, Dills.
Mm-hmm.
Can't make anything any smaller. People won't know what the cards are anymore.
That would be so crazy. That would be completely bonkers.
I would love it though if they could just play around in this universe that they've built and not have it be so damn rigid all the time. That would be super fun to me. That's like the funnest thing about right now Magic is I look at cards and I'm just like, what could I do with these? Oh my god, anything. And with Hearthstone you're like, what can I do with these? I can do this. I can do this one thing. That's what I can do with it.
To a certain degree, but yeah.
Sure.
In other news, speaking of Ben Brode, he did a PAX Dev keynote. I made way more notes about this than I need to. You should go watch it. I found it interesting. You're not going to find any big announcements here or anything of that nature. Though when he talks about matchmaking, it makes me wonder, is this part of the reason you left the team? Was this not getting dressed fast enough? Because he really, really focused in on matchmaking for a good portion of this talk. But
yeah, I'm wondering, like, where was this philosophy when he was here, right?
Unless he had it, but nobody else did.
Maybe, but he was always coming out talking. I don't know. Maybe he's just evolved. He's learned things.
The new Ben Brode.
Yeah, I mean you should be doing that, right, in life, like figuring out things as you go along, learning and making better things.
Yeah,
because a lot of this does feel very Ben Brode, like in philosophy to me.
No, it's not like it's. I did not watch this and think to myself, oh wow, he was just putting on a face for Team 5. It's like, nope, he's just the same. It's the same Ben Brode as always. But I don't know. Another one of the interesting things I thought of that I found interesting that he brought up was just talking about getting feedback from your community, which is because of what feedback currently looks like on our Hearthstone. It made me think of it, and he talked about how a lot of times reasons that a game doesn't make certain changes, people go to, the reason this isn't happening is either greed, laziness, or incompetence, which I found funny, and because of the conversation we're having right now, I think to myself, like, I don't think that's any of the reasons. I don't believe that that's the reason any of the changes that aren't happening. It's just that I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And to me, I'm just like, is it a roadmap? Is there just the desires of certain players just wildly off base for what the overall Team 5 strategy is? I don't know. But anyway, it's interesting. And if you're if you're actually in the industry and you haven't watched this, watch the end, because it's got some serious self-help stuff about not working overtime, which has been in the headlines like crazy recently because of the Telltale layoffs.
Telltale closure, pretty much.
There's been research for a long time that and they just recently got posted again on Reddit. I'm like, this is not new. If you had 3-day weekends, you'd actually be more productive. I feel like the American standard of how much work you should be putting in based solely on just hours is just stupid and silly. It's like,
no one is effective over 60 to 80 hours a week.
No
one is.
Like, it's just, to me, it's weird that we've evolved into this thing where it must be 40 hours a week and must be this and that. And then, you should probably work some overtime because you got more things to do. It's like, really? Maybe I should just be smarter about my work and get it done faster.
I mean, then there's a conversation that to be had with streaming culture as well.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I know. Seriously, like, is doing it for 16 hours straight the way to go? Why not? Like, is anybody paying attention for that long? Maybe do it more like a television show, you know? It's interesting that what like this philosophy has developed in America. And I always think about Europeans taking like lunch breaks and stuff and getting 4 weeks off a year and all this stuff. I'm like, they seem like they're producing things just fine over there.
Yeah, here we get like 2 weeks off a year when you first start a new job, and over there they're like their default is like 6 weeks off or something crazy. Something like that sounds
summering
crazy
in France and stuff.
Like, it's like whole company shut down for a month.
Why can't we have this?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what the hell would we do? Just wouldn't work. we can't even run reruns.
We don't even get.
Yeah, we don't even get 2 weeks off.
If we take vacation, we don't get paid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, God. Imagine we ran reruns. Why are you guys talking about Dr. Boom being such a problem?
What the fuck? What year is this?
Exactly. So, anyways, I found this keynote really interesting. I highly recommend going and listening to it. There are visual aids. You don't actually get to see Ben Brode walking around on stage, but you do get to watch his slideshow. Links on YouTube. Go check it out. In other news, Thijs won an Aston Martin DB11.
Whoa.
Yep.
Now, isn't he allowed to take the cash instead of the car? Do we know if he took the car?
I mean, all the gifts I saw, it looks like he took the car, but I'm assuming that's also stage presence.
He's sitting on the car.
It's also stage presence. I mean, the car in this version is basically the trophy because it's on stage.
He looks super cool on top of that car, man.
So we will find out. But to my knowledge, a DP11 starts at just shy of $200,000 US.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, and that's if they got him like the base V8 model. If they ponied up and got him the V12. It's even more expensive.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So then does that make him like the most winningest Hearthstone player ever?
I don't think so, but it's got to be pretty close.
Because I mean like he's won the EU championships a couple times and like
he's got to be up there.
Yeah.
I would think so, like especially if there was an option to cash out.
Well, I mean, if you were like keeping track, you'd probably just consider that it's cash value. When you're tracking, right?
For sure.
That'd be interesting. I think for a while it was Tiddler just because he won some $100,000 thing, right?
True.
Yeah, like he won some giant tournament over there, and then so I just put him like leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else, and even got like Firebat was like up there just because of his one world championship for a long time. It's like one big win is usually kind of the thing.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with this is from the Gold Series China versus EU Championship. Which
his opponent, Zhao Ti, I think is actually the leader in China in points right now. So it was a good match and good players, good games. If you guys haven't watched it, go watch it. Yeah. I'm also with Cheesy Bob in the chat room who says Tiddler is such an unfortunate handle.
Oh, by the way, we don't have this in the news, but we should probably just congratulate Hunter Ace on being the first Master 3 stars guy.
Oh, did he make it to 3? He was so close. Yeah.
He's the first one. Yeah.
Although he won't actually officially become a 3-star master till January because
but I mean he's got over 200 points or whatever, and he achieved it this month with his ladder finish, and posted a thing on Twitter. A lot of people were saying it's the amount of points that they're asking for is too much to get done in 1 year or whatever, and he did it. So that's pretty crazy.
But if
great.
only one person is doing it, maybe it is too much, and we should probably adjust it for the new season.
That's the thing, right? Like they're supposed to have monthly Masters tournaments, and are they just going to
start for another another year at least, right? I think the idea was
like if it does start, like now that somebody's hit the master point, then are they just going to be like, okay, well, here you go, Hunter Ace, you're just in the tournament by yourself, so you win, have the money. Because if I was Hunter Ace, I'd be like, WTF, where are my tournaments? Like,
I don't think they do them until next year, probably. But I think the idea was that after 1 year you don't have any, and then after the second year you start to like get some elite players. But somebody just blew the whole competition out of the water this year.
Well, but even then, like it's the last 3 seasons, I think. So like his first season will fall off. Like he's going to have to maintain it. So if people aren't able to hit that 200 mark over 3 seasons, like they're going to lose their first season and earn their next. Like, so it's not like it's just cumulative since they introduced it. If it was cumulative since they introduced it, sure. But if like we make it to January and Hunter Ace is the only one, there's been 3 seasons with points.
Then they have to adjust.
So that's what I think. It'll depend at the end of season 3 2018 how many people actually achieve it, and then I think you have the conversation of, do we lower it or not?
I wonder if there will be a panel at BlitzCon that kind of talks about the roadmap for Hearthstone esports.
I hope so. It'd
be interesting, just after.
Well, because there have been so many iterations, right? So it'd be really nice to know, like, if they think this was successful, if it wasn't, if they're going to make some big changes, how they think the Masters program went, like the Masters program was never really going to come into play until next year, but it'd be interesting if they think it was successful.
Yeah. I mean, there's been sizable changes to Hearthstone esports basically every year. It's just that the 2018's changes were pretty big by comparison. So just kind of curious to hear their thoughts on where it is now and where they'd like to see it go. So, anyways, before we move into strategy and talk about Dills Control Zoo, not mid-range, we'd like to thank Harry's, our sponsor today, for sponsoring this episode. Thank you to Harry's Razors. Check them out by going to harrys.com/TAC. All 3 of us have converted to Harry's. That's right, all 3 of us. They don't have to be pink.
They just have to be sharp.
And they are. They are high quality and affordable razor blades. If you look on the website, it's probably to shave your face, but no judgment here.
Dills is showing off his shoulders today.
Oh, always.
They are gleaming.
I live in Texas. I don't want sleeves ever, right? And if I'm going to go out sleeveless and make sure my shoulders are looking tight.
I mean, frankly,
tight.
We're just lucky you're wearing clothes at all. I mean, it's so warm there. But yeah, Harry's is great. I've said it before. I will say it again. They converted me over to a traditional razor and shave gel, lathering up my neck to get rid of my neck beard. Whereas before I just never did it. I didn't like doing it. It was expensive. It was a hassle. I didn't like having to keep blades on hand. But Harry's, they send them right to my door. It's affordable. I can even subscribe if I want to. I'm a big fan. So we appreciate Harry's support, and you will appreciate their trial set offer. You can go and redeem their trial set over at harrys.com/TAC, and that means that you get a 5-blade razor, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel. Yeah, that stuff I talked about. It feels so good. You lather it up, you put it on, in my case, just my neck. Gotta preserve the beard, and maybe a little bit of my cheeks. I get a little bit of Wolverine chops, and that needs to be subdued. And check it out. You also get the travel cover, so you can take this all with you. So definitely go check them out. Again, they've been supporting the Angry Chicken for so darn long. So thank you, Harry's. And one more time, it's harrys.com/TAC to redeem your trial set. Thank you for checking that out. Now, let's talk Control Zoo.
Hit it very hard. Wanna blow something up? Time to pay.
So, Dills, last week before we decided we were going to cluck the meta, which, by the way, if anyone has played that deck, I would love to hear how it went, because it worked really well for us in the post Angry Chicken stream.
Yeah, we did have to top deck Malagos in one game, but yeah, we did not lose a game.
Well, it's not the first time where your winning strategy is top deck Malagos.
Yeah, sure.
It's certainly come up with other decks before. But today, we're going to talk about a sane, good, probably worth climbing with deck on the ladder. Control Zoo, which I hadn't heard of until you had mentioned it to me, Dills. I have seen Zoo variants that run Gul'dan, but not ones that have this much of
that's not really a new thing. Like originally, Zoo in this meta was running Doom Guards and Gul'dan, and then just using Gul'dan as like a finisher. But then it just kind of ended up throwing those away, topping out at 5 mana. And so this is a very different version, though. This is Zoo is only really mentioned here because you have the ability to open in a Zoo fashion. So if you look at the current list, you're running 6 1-drops and a 2-drop. So you got, double Flame Imp, double Kobold, Voidwalker, and then you Keleseth. And then my version has now put in. Does the version you're showing have Zola?
Yes, Zola is in there. It's running Zola. It's running Lord Godfrey. It's running the Lich King. Obviously, Gul'dan, 2 Void Lords. This thing has a top end.
Yes. So the idea here is that, you have the Zoo opener, but then you also have the ability to take games to the end, right? And that's one of the things Zoo struggled with, right? Like if somebody were to wipe your board at certain points, like you just had no recovery from that, right? And this deck not only has recovery from that, but you could just you can flip the board back, which I think is really the important part here. So Godfrey is just so freaking good in the current meta. I've had times where they've got Death Rattle minions on board, all kinds of stuff going on, and a Godfrey just cleans everything up. So that card is one of the MVPs of the deck. And then obviously you've got the Skull package with Doom Guards and Despicable Dreadlords. So not a lot of people are running Weapon Hate right now. So most of the time your Skull is going to stick. This deck is running Weapon Hate, but not a lot of people are. So, this deck is kind of the idea here is you've got this shell, Zoo opener, control lock top end, and then you've got space in the middle to put in tech cards, right? So Gluttonous Ooze, double MC tech, single Spellbreaker, single big game hunter.
This list I like a lot better than I think the one that you gave us last week, because I found I was having huge problems like with big minions late game, because a lot of my stuff was like smaller and it was like I had to trade away everything to kill like a Lich King or like all that kind of stuff. So just one big game hunter would probably actually make a really big difference. And
the big game hunter is also there because I faced a lot of even lock towards the top end of the ladder. Like at first I was playing a lot of odd rogues and stuff like that, and all of a sudden the even lock started to happen, and it was like, if they play a mountain giant, I just can't kill it, right? The only way you could ever kill the mountain giants was with like buff spellstones. So a single big game hunter just kind of shored up that problem for me pretty big. But the list I gave you guys last week was my unteched. Here's just kind of the basic list. And it was, I wasn't very happy with it. It was good. I was winning games with it, but I was, like you said, I was just losing whenever somebody. I've won games with every single iteration of this deck.
My problem was, I was destroying Token Druid, which felt really good.
Sure.
But then I would queue into anything that had a like late game. Like I played against a big Smell Mage and what else? Burn Mage just burned me out. But it just if I came up against Druid, I was super happy. But
this deck does really well against Druid for sure.
Yeah, if I didn't come up against Druid, and if they had like a lot of big bomb type things, even mid to late game, I was like, oh man, I cannot deal with this. And there's so many things now that kind of punish a wide board. There's so much mind control tech. There's so much like Giggling Inventor that it was just like, oh man, even my board isn't even helping me. This is supposed to be my way to get rid of things.
Yeah. Well, so the way you got to look at this deck though is, even though it's called Zoo, you don't want to build wide boards, right? What you want to do is you want to put all your power into kind of more small, you get the Zoo opener, but then you start trading things off, and then you start playing, things like single despicable dreadlords and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
And then at a certain point you get the skull going, and that's when you're getting like free doom guards, and suddenly you're kind of like slowly overtaking them in just incremental advantage. So it is, I would say it's not an intuitive deck to play, probably because you're not sure exactly what style you're supposed to be, because it is divided between two kind of styles, right?
Yeah.
So
I feel like
it's probably taken me a while to get to the point where I'm at now, where I feel pretty comfortable in all my matchups.
I found myself waiting a lot, as if I was playing an old school control warrior. It's like, well,
Sure.
I have all of my answers. I've got my Mossy Horrors. I've got my mind control techs. I've got Godfrey, and so I'm just kind of hoarding all of these answers, waiting for the boards to arrive to disrupt them. And I don't think.
Oh, you also took out the Echo Chick.
Oh yeah, Glinda's gone. Yeah, Glinda was like my fun card, which is now Zola is the fun card. And Zola is way better because you can Keleseth on 2, and a lot of times these days they don't kill Keleseth, and then you just Zola Keleseth, and then you Keleseth again on 4.
There are a lot of good things to Zola in this deck. I found I freaking Zola-ing, which is now I'm turning into a verb. Godfrey is just incredible.
Oh sure, yeah. Get a second Godfrey in there.
The amount of board control that it gives you, and then if it's late game and you've got nothing better to do, okay, well, I'll take another Void Lord. Why not?
Or another Lich King, or I've had like times where I've got the weapon up and I just do it to a Doom Guard, then another Doom Guard comes out for free the next turn. So there's lots and lots of good. Serenite Chain Gang is a good one. If you need more big game hunters or Spellbreak, if you need more of a tech card, then you can do it to the tech cards. So yeah, it's it's got a lot of ability to do that. I'd say the weaknesses that this deck has right now are the Tempo Burn Mage, because you only have Spellstone as healing, and Intel Gul'dan. But and then the problem is that they play Counterspell, and you don't have any way to proc it without casting a Spellstone unless you have Hellfire, right? So you just get your Spellstone countered unless you save the coin, and you can only get the coin if you go second. So that could be a very tricky matchup. You have to manage your life total really well. So it's
I think I stopped tapping at like 26. I was like, okay, I got exactly, 2 taps, and that's it.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't tap anymore. Yeah. And then Shudderwalk is really difficult, because when they get to their end, Shudderwalk just tends to beat Gul'dan, because they're like healing for 9 and dealing 9, and you're dealing 3. So it's like, and Shudderwalk also has ways to just kind of elongate the game till they get there pretty well. And this deck, because it's not like pure Zoo, it can be hard to apply enough pressure at the beginning to actually close the game out, right? You're closing the game out towards the end of the game. The other deck I've had a little bit of an issue with is Death Rattle Hunter.
I was just about to ask, how are you? Because they owned my face with this deck.
So I don't have a bad record against Hunter overall. It's just when they get an egg out on like coin egg or egg on 3, and then they follow it up with like 1 or 2 actual activators. That's just really difficult. I mean, that's difficult for any deck to do.
I was going to say that's just kind of like the dream Death Rattle Hunter draw,
if
right?
they do that, it's hard, right? So so it's like one of those things where you kind of hope they don't have that, and you play a game plan that's built around not trying to fight back against that, but trying to force them to fight against you, if that makes sense. So Death Rattle Hunter, I've definitely been able to navigate, but there's some draws they have where you're just like, nah, just no answers for this. You hope you can line up a silence against a cube or something like that. That's basically the idea. But overall with the deck, I'm at like a 65%. I've been hovering between 65-70% with the deck since I started playing it. And I've taken lots of things in and out, tried different things. And I really like the version I'm at now. I think it's a much tighter list. And I would say if you're looking for something that's kind of fun and every game feels a little different, this is a really good deck to play. Also, if you're looking for something that can beat anything that you're going up against, like so right now against Rogue, Quest and Odd, I've never lost to Rogue with this deck, actually.
How many games?
12.
Okay, all right.
12-0 against Rogue, yeah. And against Druid, 10-2.
Yeah,
so,
I liked playing this against Druid.
So if you are having a problem with Quest Rogue and Odd Rogue and Druid, which I think is probably a lot of people out there who can echo that sentiment. Yeah, it's real good against those classes. Like I said, it struggles against the Burn Mage. You know, if you want, and also I think a lot of these cards you could put in or out whatever you want. Like someone in chat just asked, you could put Giggling instead of Zola. Sure, why not? I mean,
there's lots of tech space in here.
Yeah, the core is the core, and that's really just the 1-drops, the Keleseth, things like the MC Techs and the Tar Creepers. I really like having the single Hellfire because it gives you more, like another way to activate Spellstone, but also if you don't get the super fast opener, you need to be able to recover and then switch into the late game strategy, right? So
yeah, you can't wait till 7 for Godfrey.
Yeah, no, Godfrey comes out a little too late. Like by that time you're already taking a whole bunch of damage. But Godfrey, if you get Godfrey Keleseth and then you wipe a board and leave a 5/5 behind, it's like you just win the game. You just win from there every single time. It's crazy. And Godfrey, here's the other thing. When you're doing defile math, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You just got to remember 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? Look for a 2. If there's a 1, that's a 2. If there's a 3, that's a 4, right? So I've seen a lot of people try to count up Godfrey math, and they're getting stuck on the actual integer that they're looking at. It's like just 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate, Godfrey?
Is it less than 2? Is it less than 4? Is it less?
Exactly.
Less than 6.
Like I've seen people get so screwed up with, and it's like it is easy math once you do it a few times, but if you're not used to doing Godfrey math, it's like you start to look at numbers weirdly. I don't know, it's weird. It's so easy for it to happen, and when you look back on it, you're like, why did I count it that way? I saw Firebat do it. He went 2, 4, 6, 9. I was like, where did the 9 come from? Like, what is happening here?
Whatever had 9 health took 2 damage, then took another 2 damage. It's no longer at 9.
He was so convinced, and then he played the Godfrey, and then 3 minions were left with 1 health. I was like, yeah, because it's 8, not 9. What are you doing? But it's just one of those. It's just, it can happen, Yeah. It's,
sometimes you get in your head about
also,
it.
Jess, you mentioned Big Spell Mage. I think the key to Big Spell Mage is when you get to your Gul'dan, don't play minions anymore. Just don't let them ever make water elementals, right? Basically, if you shoot them in the face for 3 and gain 3 every turn, you'll win the game eventually. So you have to just slow things to a crawl at that point, and that can be
so
really
and the one that I faced was actually like an elemental version that had all kinds of like pretty
so it had his own ways
elementals. Yeah, it wasn't just the water elementals. It was like 5/5s and 6/6s, and I was like, ugh. I got him down to like 7, and then it was Jaina, and then it was over.
Yeah. That's tricky. You have to kind of like get there before, and then you kind of have to hope they don't have Jaina on 9.
On 9, yeah, which they always do.
Sure, of course. Why not? Why wouldn't they?
Well, I guess let me know when you figure out a way to deal with Witchwood Grizzly, because Death Rattle Hunter is cleaning my clock at the moment.
Witchwood Grizzly, yeah. Witchwood Grizzly, you just kind of hope that they don't make a giant one, that you have a decent sized hand.
Well, the deck list that we have up doesn't have the Big Game Hunter, but if I had Big Game Hunter, it'd be good if it was giant. The problem is that it's not giant, and it's just got 12 health, and
You can't kill Witchwood Grizzly with the Big Game Hunter.
Well, that's what you're saying. You're saying if they made it giant. So.
Oh,
yeah.
I think you meant giant.
I'm saying if they made their Witchwood Grizzly giant, yeah. If they make him have like 10 health.
Big booty.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, they come out with 12 from Winter Wisp, and then I'm just
when they get cast for free.
That's the end of that.
But oftentimes, like what I've kind of dealt with them is just try to have a board that can fight back against, and then also against Death Rattle Hunter, one decent mind control tech result will win you the game a lot of times too. Like if you steal an egg or a cube or a grizzly or whatever. And a lot of times they don't really play around it. They just kind of load the board, Yeah,
the thing you got to watch out there is Giggling Inventor, and there's only a 1 of Mossy Horror, so there's only so much you can do about that, but it's kind of an edge case.
Yeah, but if you mossy 1 Giggling, you usually win the game too. Like that's what I've found anyway, because that's such a turnaround. Like they spend 5 mana to do this, and then you spend 6 mana to kill it all and play a 2/7, which then has like the ability to make more trades. Like it's one of those. This is like one of those decks where it's like if you get that 1 swing turn, you can usually lock it in from there.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I just hit a couple of Death Rattle Hunters on the end of my session. I was like, ooh, that stung. So
yeah. So the chat is saying Zola's not essential. No, Zola's not essential. Zola's just fun and awesome and has lots of good targets to hit. So that's why she's in there.
Yeah. Yeah. At first I was just like, oh, this is fun. And I'm like, oh no, this is good. This is just good.
And when you get the dream, when you get the Keleseth into the Zola, like that's just a win. You just win.
My Keleseth is always at the bottom of the deck too. They have Jaina on 9 and Keleseth as the last card.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like 5/11 Void Lords? Deal with it.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
dude,
so
that's
good.
6/6 Godfrey's. That's pretty nice. Yeah. 4/9 Mossy Horrors. I like it. Yep.
I dig. So anyways, the deck list is in the show notes. If you've never looked up the show notes before, go to amove.tv/TAC and click on the episode 283 post. You'll see a Google Doc link at the bottom. And there you go. So before we take a crazy game story and 1 or 2 emails, let's thank our other sponsor today, Robinhood. They are one of our newer sponsors. If you're unfamiliar with them, it's an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, and it is all commission free. On top of that, their whole plan is to just make it non-intimidating, and I think they've succeeded because, as I've mentioned on previous episodes where we've talked about Robinhood, I have zero experience with stocks, but the user interface of this app is extremely well designed, and the charts and statistics that you get to look at are very easy to consume. I am not math savvy, so I'm a big fan. So. Definitely go check it out. Nothing else, just look at it, because I was certainly being like, I don't know anything about this. I need to check this out. Oh, hey, this is really easy to navigate. This is fine. I dig it, and I've been kind of learning as I go. It hasn't been overwhelming. I really enjoy it. How have you been liking the app, Dills?
I really like it. We started with a little bit of stuff initially, and then I've been putting more in. Kind of going with a plan of like a manageable amount of money just being thrown in. So I'm constantly like kind of in there checking out, seeing how stuff is doing. And then if I have enough to do a little bit more investing, I'm doing some there. So it's kind of what I always wanted to be able to do, which is not get in over my head, right? Whereas like sometimes you think about getting into the stock market and you're like, so I just need to throw in like 10K all at once to make this work. Like, no, you don't have to. You can little by little it if you want to.
See, I thought I had to have like 8 monitors all side by side.
I need a big ticker going at the top, right? That's showing me, all the current stock prices now. I need to be on a phone yelling at somebody on the other line.
That's key.
No, I just pull it out. I just start kind of scrolling around. You can, if you hone in on a stock or something, you can click in and get deeper information and and then there's like this chat going on all the time, and you got just watch that for a little bit, see what people are saying. It's really, really interesting. And, it's almost like sometimes I feel like I'm playing a little fun game where I actually have like real life rewards at the end. You know what I mean? It's cool.
The Angry Chicken does not necessarily think that is the best way to think about your investments.
It's not poring over spreadsheets. You know what I mean? It's like the way that I kind of approach a lot of things in life, which is like kind of just do it, and eventually you start to feel like you're better at it, right? That's kind of what it feels like to me, where it's not like this intense process. I'm just kind of getting in there and poking around, and if I feel good about something, I'll throw a little money at it, maybe.
Yeah, it's almost like you're learning how to invest as you build your portfolio.
Sure. And by the way, the whole free stock thing is crazy. They just give you a free stock.
Yeah, that is the offer for our listeners. Robinhood will give Angry Chicken listeners a free stock, something like Apple or Ford or Sprint, to help you build your portfolio. You can sign up by going to angrychicken.robinhood.com. Again, that's angrychicken.robinhood.com to claim your free stock right now, and you'll support the Angry Chicken in the process. It's great. Go check them out. We thank them for their support. Now, let's take a crazy game story.
Has the whole world gone crazy?
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
Send your crazy game stories in to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Who sent theirs in today, Jocelyn?
We got an email from Kelsey who says, "Greeting, Cluckers. I love the show. I've been listening for years, and I finally have a crazy game story worthy enough for your great program. I'm playing Tess Valera Yoink Rogue for the lulz, and I queue up against a big mage. I immediately sigh, dreading the inevitable moment they get Jaina online and have infinite health. Not even memes can save me. Or can they? First turn, I cast Hallucinate and insta-pick our Big Daddy Antonidas. I'm running a draw engine with Auctioneer, Valera, and Espionage, so my goal is obviously now to make as many fireballs as possible before I lose to Jaina. A few turns later, I get Antonidas down and am able to generate 3 to 4 fireballs, but my opponent is able to get Jaina on turn 9 because, obviously, relevant to our conversations today. Luckily, I get Valera online and see a plan. Wait, can I win with this? I start using my fireballs to control the board, killing any water elementals that they make. Using the fireballs from Antonidas as well as the shadow balls from Valera, I can cast roughly 8 to 10 different fireballs over the course of the game. Nevertheless, my opponent is still at full health and armor. And then I see my opening. He has 1 water elemental up, and I have 2 creatures, a suitable board state to mitigate the randomness because I drop Our Lady Tess and think to myself, let's dance. She starts tossing fireballs everywhere. It was hilarious. It was a DIY rod of roasting from Dungeon Run. At least 5 hit my opponent's face, and while that didn't defeat them, it was enough to keep them low enough in HP to finish them off a turn or 2 later. I almost uninstalled after that. How could you ever top that game?
God bless Our Lady Tess.
Tess swinging like 10 fireballs is insane. And also, okay, so did they nerf her and then unnerf her? So if she hit herself,
she shoots herself, she'll
keep going?
Yes.
Okay.
There's actually a weird interaction I saw on Kibler's stream where he psychic screamed his own Tess into the other person's deck, and then Tess started casting all the spells for the other person, which was super weird. Yeah. So because essentially she was on the other side of the board now, because she doesn't just stop at that point, she just keeps casting. It just started casting as if the opponent had played the Tess. It was super weird. Yeah, Kibler was like, wait a minute, why does it work that way? I started thinking about it. I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense because the other person is technically like the owner of Tess at that point. So weird stuff.
So then was it all the spells that Kibler had played or all the spells?
All the spells that Kibler had played were now being cast for the opponent. Yeah.
Wow.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I really like Tess. I really do.
I do too, and I have a golden one. I need to make a yoink rogue.
It is fun. It's really fun. Academic espionage is super cool.
It's really good. Before we move into emails, we want to thank those of you supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. The Patreon is the opt-in subscription for the Angry Chicken. So if you like what we're doing and you think to yourself, they need my money. They just need it. I would love to give them 50 cents an episode, $1 an episode, whatever it is. Patreon.com/TAC is the place to go to and do just that. And on this episode, we want to thank some of our newer patrons, Adam F. and Landon P. Thank you for the support, you two. And now, let's wrap it up with an email.
Hello.
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, did you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
Send your emails to the same place as those crazy game stories, tacpodcast@gmail.com. Hey, Tall Man writes in and says, hello, howling hens. I would be very concerned if a hen was howling. My neighbor has chickens, too. That would freak me out. Anyways, one thing that the game has not touched on, aside from the not-so-great Warlock spell, which seemed huge for World of Warcraft, is the Cataclysm. From what I understand, the Cataclysm was caused by Deathwing and reshaped Azeroth completely. So why not have a Deathwing-themed Cataclysm expansion and use it to completely reshape the classic set? I agree with the sentiment that a good chunk of the classic set are the same old tired cards we've seen for a while the other half is never touched garbage. Boy, hey Tall Man, just tell us how you really feel. When's the last time you've seen Pint-Sized Summoner? The Cataclysm could basically swap cards out from older sets, so if folks have the cards already, they would just fit right in. I think it would be interesting to see older cards re-injected into Standard, maybe some mechs from GVG to synergize with some of the Boomsday stuff. Some some cards which will eventually leave standard seem like they would be good to have around forever, such as Whizbang for newer players, or incredibly solid, reasonably inoffensive one-drop options like Firefly are healthy for the game, I think. Additionally, at the very least, maybe the fact that the Welcome Bundle no longer includes class legendaries could be a sign that some rotation is being planned. Maybe the Dragon aspects would be the only classic legendaries that would survive the shakeup. Oh my god, you needed to preface that with a big tinfoil hat, hey tall man. As a player not incredibly familiar with WoW, something this huge would be a neat thing to see and something I would immediately be able to somewhat recognize and latch onto, but what are your thoughts? Woo, there's a lot to unpack in here. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll start with Hearthstone. They don't really do the like 1-to-1 WoW tie-in anymore. It's still related to WoW, but they're not like Cataclysm, the Hearthstone version. I mean the original paper TCG did that like verbatim. It had straight up expansions that matched almost 1-for-1 with things that occurred in the MMO. But yeah,
it's a cool way to do it though. If you want to shake up the classic set
and stay on theme.
Yeah, the problem for me, I guess, is that I don't want them to shake up the classic set just once. I want them to do it, all the time. I want them to do it every couple of years. Similar like when they rotate things. I want essentially the classic set to do a little bit of rotating as well. But you could say, you could do this way the first time and then still do it again at some point in the future. It is a cool themed way to go like, okay, so these cards got like burned up and they are now wild only cards. These, and in their stead, these cards kind of came in. These are now part of the classic set. I do hope that we get some rotating type of set because I would like to see, like you mentioned, some of these, like the problem is that there's cards that define classes that are just here forever. And you'll just never, ever see that much of a change in these decks because obviously these 15, 18, whatever cards from the classic set are just going to be in there. And we need to do something to make everything feel wildly different. So I like it. I think he's right about things like Firefly. I think that's a card you can rotate into classic, and it's a great card that just could live on for a while. So it's all good ideas.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot too. And I think that there is a lot of room, especially with the neutral cards, because there's nothing necessarily to say that you need to keep a big chunk of neutral cards in the classic set. If what you're worried about is class identity, then there's quite a lot of space in the classic set to move some stuff to wild. I mean, we've talked about even moving all the original class legendaries to wild or to Hall of Fame, which would make them wild, which I think would be totally fine. I like this idea, and I like the idea of having one big event like Cataclysm, sure, to kind of make up for the fact that they haven't been doing it all along. So they could go back to everything that they've already put out and say, okay, what actually makes sense going into the classic set? Let's make this a big themed event. Let's do a tavern brawl around it. Let's do an arena around it. Let's just have some big crazy thing and then do it every time we do a rotation.
Yeah. This is a thing that is, it feels to me like the new player experience is holding back the ability to do things for us, right? For the players who've been playing this game forever, because they are so concerned that players who are casual, who don't play all the time, aren't going to have their cards anymore, right? That the players who are actually like dumping money at every single expansion into their game are like, hey man, I'm tired of this card, So it would go a long way, I think, to some of the older players if they did something with the classic set. Because, we've been playing with those cards for years, man. And sure, every now and then it's really fun to be like, look, Secret Keeper's back. But that only goes so far, right? Yeah. At a certain point, that's not that fun anymore, right? Like, MC Tech's just here forever? Okay. Yeah. I'd like to see new ways to kind of punish wide boards. And
new ways to draw cards, like get rid of Acolyte, get rid of Novice Engineer, do some new stuff.
Yeah, this only happens by changing the classic set. So
Loot Hoarder, get out of here.
If you need a theme to do it, sure. Why not? Seems like a good way.
I guess the only thing I would say is that I don't see much value in getting rid of cards that don't see a lot of play, because there is a value to that. Bad cards, you need them there to understand what a good card is. And I don't see any need to go and remake purposely bad cards. right?
Maybe
No,
not.
I don't think they. Yeah, I don't think they need to do that. I think you could definitely keep Goldshire Footman in there forever because it's not a card that's going to move into standard competitive play, and it's a card that you will look at as a new player and say, "Oh, look, a 1-mana taunt. I like this card," and then you'll be like, "This is not working." And it's, you know what I mean, that is an important part of the new player experience.
I mean, you say that now, but just wait until they add the card that turns all your Goldshire Footmen into like 30/30s that can't be killed.
But I think the thing is, though, like they make bad cards in each expansion, right? There's no reason they couldn't like make the classic set decent, get rid of some of the stuff that never gets played, and then just keep printing with that design philosophy in mind in all the new expansions.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think the idea for me is just that I want the decks to truly change when a rotation happens, and with the classic set never changing, that's just never going to happen, right? And in Magic, it's not like in Magic this doesn't happen with the core sets, because core sets literally reprint. Like blue just gets a counter spell again, right? And red just gets, well, at this point they're doing lightning strike, not lightning bolt or whatever. But it's like those are never really going to leave those color schemes, right? Because that's important for that, which is why I think Frostbolt and Fireball don't have to leave Mage for us to lose things like Mind Control Tech and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's nothing really to say that the classic set needs to be a set size even. They could just say, okay, our original classic set was 400 cards, whatever it was, and then just say, well, now the classic set is 500 cards. Who cares? Like again,
it's important for certain cards to like completely leave, I think, is the key. Like, because
that's true. You can still have Hall of Fame rotations, but I'm saying there's no reason for the classic set to be a set number of cards.
But as long as Wild Growth is there, every druid's going to put it in their deck, right?
Yeah.
I think the challenging thing is what is important that it needs to stay around. What is essentially permanent reprint status in line with what you were talking about with Magic. To me, I think Fireball probably is for Mage. Sure. Frostbolt
Mages should probably have a Fireball.
Yeah.
Right. And so what do you do in that regard? So I think what all three of us are kind of on board with is like we would just like to see a more sweeping change to the classic set, whatever that may be. And not that there's necessarily any one idea here that I'm like, yeah, that's it. It's got to be this. It's the only option. I think there's a lot.
But the cards to me that I think need to move in and out are not like I think Shaman should have an Earth Shock, right? Like that just is a thing they should be able to do. Shaman
Hex,
should probably
don't take away my hex,
right? Yeah, Shaman should have, or Mage should have polymorph and stuff like that. That all is totally fine. It's just when you get to the point where forever and ever you're gonna look at a new set and you're gonna go, can I make an Archmage Antonidas deck with this? Can I make does Tyrion go in this? It is always gonna be that. And man, that's just like, ugh. Just makes me kind of sad. Like, I don't want to think in 5 years I'm going to still be playing Van
Tyrion.
Cleef.
Yeah.
Like any of it. You know what I mean? It's just like, man. Yeah. And you can, after a certain amount of time, those cards could come back because they're refreshing again when they've been gone for a long time, right? Like when a card is bad and then suddenly decent because of a synergy with a new card, everyone gets excited about the fact that card's back. But that only happens because the card was literally like unplayable for a while, right? So it's the cards that are never literally unplayable that become a problem after 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah, we've been playing for 5 years now.
Yeah.
Been a while.
Wow.
Yeah. And like I love all these rotations, and every time a rotation happens and there's a whole bunch of new stuff and all that, and it's great. And then you can look at a card like Cube and be like, hey, eventually that's going to be gone. But then you look at a card like Acolyte and you're like, that is never going to be gone. Holy crap. This is always going to be a thing. And then you get kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your email. Hey, Tom, man. I mean, clearly we would like to see something, whether it's Cataclysm themed or not is, remains to be seen, but I wouldn't dislike that theming. Bring it on. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Keep those emails coming to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Huge thanks again to our patrons. If you like The Angry Chicken and you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/TAC. Also, huge thanks to our Patreon producers. Thank you, Declan H., Sean C., and LVE for the support. We very much appreciate it. If you want to catch the back catalog of The Angry Chicken, go on over to amove.tv/TAC or youtube.com/amovetv if you want to look at our smiling faces that are well shaved, thanks to Harry's. You can catch the live show Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/amovetv. I will not be here next week. I'll be traveling. I should be back the week after, but there's a slight chance I might miss 2 weeks. So, I did not die. I did not rage quit this game. I'm just traveling.
But we're totally going to tell everybody next week that you totally rage quit.
Please. Oh, I want you to deadpan it like as hard as you can. Just welcome to The Angry Chicken. Garrett thinks this is trash and will never be back. Onwards to the news.
Some people don't make it all the way to the end of the show, so they're going to be confused.
Yeah. Don't even no, just never bring it up again for especially if I'm gone for 2 weeks. Just keep playing it up. And then I'm going to come back on, what's the date? I'm going to come back on the 23rd and be like, yeah, I was wrong. This game's really fun. I'm back. That's how we're gonna play it. We just workshop the whole thing here at the end of the podcast, which everyone knows is the best place to hide anything you don't want heard.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, Dills, where can everybody find the other stuff you're doing?
Mostly these days, just doing the stream thing. And if you are interested in Magic the Gathering Arena, I will be generally playing that as well as Hearthstone every night. So. Check me out, twitch.tv/WillieDills, and @WillieDills on Twitter is where you can follow me there.
I have finally started playing it with a little regularity. That game is fun. I like Instance, man. I forgot how much I like Instance.
Yeah, no, there's a lot going on that's really cool. There's also, I'm very interested to get a little bit more familiar with all of the cards in this set, but I do have, there are some comments I have about some problems that the game has. At a high competitive level, if you have an instant, the other player knows, right?
It does
because
seem
it automatically passes priority.
Yeah, it seems extremely obvious. Oh, and there he goes. Well, I agree with Dills.
Yeah, I think we lost Dills.
I agree with Dills, and we'll now pass to Jocelyn for her pimpage.
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. It's JOCE Plays. Also, we are getting into Extra Life time again. So if you guys aren't aware, my other show, which is a general gaming podcast, The Gamers In, does Extra Life every year. I personally have raised almost 10 grand for sick kids. So I'm very, very excited to do it again this year. We're doing things a little bit differently. We've got a bit of a bigger team. We're going to be doing multiple days. So our first stream for Extra Life is actually going to be on October 27th. So make sure you guys check it out. You can go to our team page at bit.ly/TGI Extra Life 2018.
Definitely go and check that out. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. All of the other podcasts I do can be found at amove.tv. There'll be a new Into the Nexus this week. There'll be a new R2-T2 this week. I don't actually know what Warcraft lore I'm going to do, but we'll figure that out when we get there. Whatever the case is, go check that out. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Be back next week, but not with me, says the Angry Chicken, which I am apparently now voicing. It has become sentient. It's going to wrap it up for the show. Thanks, everybody. Job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
I couldn't tell if I was back. Yes.
That was goofy.
Best ever.
Well done. Well done. Chat room, you've been great. Very sane conversations in there today. I appreciate it.
Hi, Iggy.
It's Iggy Pop. Oh, Iggy wants kisses. Give Iggy kisses.